Hello everyone, welcome back to Go Abroad. I'm your Brani as always. So in this video, we are diving into a question I get asked a lot. How can nurses from countries like Ghana, Nigeria, Kenya, and across Africa migrate to Australia and work as a registered nurse? So if you're already practicing back home and thinking about taking your career overseas, this video is for you. You don't need an agent or pay huge amount of money to anyone to become a nurse abroad, especially if you're already a registered nurse in Ghana or Uganda or Nigeria and you already have your PIN. You can do this yourself because all it takes is your time, right documents, and few amount to start your application. And trust me, the process is actually much simpler than you think. So in this video, I'll walk you through everything you need to know and take you through the step-by-step process so you can get started right away. So why should I migrate to Australia to work as a nurse? You know, working as a nurse in Australia isn't just a career move. It's a lifestyle upgrade. And this is what is really appealing. One, Australia has great working conditions for the healthcare professional. If you're a nurse in Australia, usually you handle fewer patients per shift. It's often one nurse to 4 patients. So that means you can actually take your time and provide better care and not feel rushed. The next important point is Australia has a higher job security. You know, Australia consistently needs experienced nurses due to an aging population and healthcare worker shortages. And that means you rarely struggle to find work as a healthcare professional. They also have a competitive pay and a financial perks. So the standard RN salaries ranges from 80,000 to 120,000 Australian dollars per year, with an additional pay for your experience, specialization, shift, or all other remote placement. And the fortunate part of all is all your expenses like your rent, your insurance, and all other expenses is deducted before you take home pay. So that means you actually get to keep more of your income after you've received your payslip. And the country also has a solid work-life balance. You know, you're entitled to flexible shift patterns, generous leave policies, and a laid-back culture you can try both at work and outside. And when it comes to career growth and specialization, you can go from bedside nurse to a specialist like ICU, pediatrist, or any other leadership roles in the healthcare profession, with salaries often exceeding 120,000 Australian dollars. And apart from that, you are capable of living well outside of work, thinking of the sunshine and the clean cities, the clean beaches you can access on weekends, and other multinational communities that welcome you right away from day one. And if you are moving with your family, there are family-friendly visa policies that allow your spouse to work and your children to access education in this country. So this sounds like a win-win if you are working as a healthcare professional in Australia. So the question is, how do I actually make it happen? You know, there are 3 different pathways to becoming a nurse in Australia. The first one is the study route. So in this route, you apply to an Australian university for a 3-year Bachelor of Nursing. After graduation, you will need to pass the licensing exams, and then you are good to start practicing. The other option is the graduate entry pathway, and this is for people who already have a degree in another field. So you can apply for a 2-year Master of Nursing program, and some universities offering this include University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, or Queensland University, and many other universities. So you have to do your research. And the main route for those coming from overseas is the AHPRA route. So this is the Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Agency, and this is what we are emphasizing on today. So this is the government body that regulates nurses, doctors, physios, and all other healthcare professionals in Australia. So if you're an overseas trained nurse, you will need to register with the AHPRA. So since April 2025, the registration process has been made quicker, which usually takes between 1 to 6 months. So the AHPRA route has now categorized applicants into different streams. That's stream A, stream B, and stream C. And these streams determines what's required next before you begin your registration. So for those in stream A, your nursing training is considered equivalent to Australians. That's common in countries like the UK, USA, Canada, Singapore, or Spain. If you had your nursing training license from these countries, you simply pay the fee, complete an online orientation, and you can move straight to registration without any extra exams. So for the stream B, your qualifications are relevant but not completely equivalent. You know, this films most African countries, including those coming from Ghana, Nigeria, those coming from Kenya, India, or Philippines, who are trained nurses. So if you fall into this category, you will need to submit your portfolio and sit for the exams. That's the NCLEX and the OSCE exams before registration. So for the stream C, if your training doesn't line up with Australian standards, you will need to upgrade your qualification first. Possibly someone with a diploma or an outdated qualification. Usually you will be required to complete Bachelor of Nursing in Australia or another approved country before you can be eligible to make your application. So after figuring out which stream you might fall into, the next step is to complete what's called the AHPRA self-check. And this is available to all internationally qualified nurses and midwives who want to register in Australia. And trust me, this process is so simple. You know, you just go online and fill in your details, and the system will give you a clear picture of which stream you belong to. And once that's done, AHPRA will tell you exactly what comes next. So whether that's submitting more documents, sitting exams. So for most people in stream B or C, this self-check is where the real assessment begins. This is more like a gateway that kicks off your registration journey and set the path you will need to follow. So before we get into the registration and exams, let's talk about the self-check. This is the very first step for anyone coming from overseas. So if you're a nurse from Ghana, you're a nurse from Nigeria, Kenya, or most other African countries, you usually fall under stream B or stream C. And that means you are mandated to complete the self-check assessment. So the self-check is basically an online assessment that looks at your nursing qualification, where you train, and your licensing status. So once you finish, it tells you exactly which stream you belong and what steps you will need to take next. So let's jump into the self-check assessment for international nurses who are applying from overseas. So I'll guide you step by step on how to complete the self-check assessment for overseas qualified nurses and midwives who wants to register in Australia. So first of all, you open your Google and type qualified nurses and midwives Australia self-check, and you look for the official website, that's nursingmidwiferyboard.gov.au. So once you're on the home page, you scroll down and you click on the self-check and portfolios. And this page contains all the details about the process. So if you have enough time, you can read through everything carefully. But for now, let's move straight to the self-check itself. So in starting your self-check, on the page you click on ready to complete the self-check and then select commence self-check. Sometimes the link feels a bit hidden, so you may need to go through a couple of steps before you find. So once you are there, you just click on the next button. So this time you'll be asked to confirm that you understand how your information will be collected and used. So you tick the box and accept and click next again. So this time you'll be asked a series of questions. So let's go through them. So they'll be asking you, have you completed a self-check before? You select no, since it's your first time. Are you seeking registration as a nurse or midwife? So this time you select the option that applies to you. So are you registered in New Zealand, or have you ever been registered in Australia? If not, you just select no. So do you hold an AHPRA number? Again, you select no if you don't. So this time you need to provide details about your nursing qualification. So you select your country of training, for example, Ghana, because I'm a Ghanaian. So when you enter the name of your institution, so it's Kwame Nkrumah University of Science and Technology. You enter your qualification title, a Bachelor of Science in Nursing Honors. So you add your year of completion, so let's say 2018. So once this is done, the system checks if your qualification is recognized. So you will then be asked if you were required to sit a pre-registration exams. So you select yes and confirm if you pass it. So the system will now show you a summary of all the information you entered. You take a minute to double check that everything is correct. So if everything looks good, you just click on next. So at this point, the system tells you which stream you fall under and confirms whether you can proceed. So once you've been cleared to continue, you'll be directed to set up an AHPRA account. So from there, you can begin the full registration process. So that's how you complete a self-check assessment for overseas nurses and midwives in Australia. So after you are through the self-check assessment and you've created the AHPRA account, you'll pay an assessment fee of 410 Australian dollars. This is where you submit all your documents, your proof of identity, your nursing qualification, your police clearance, your transcripts, and English test results. So for the English test results, you need to take at least one of these options. So the option one is the IELTS academic, of which you are required to have an overall minimum of 7.0 scores. Another option is the occupational English test, that's the OET. You're also required to have a minimum score of B in each session. And you have the PTE academic, and there is also the PTE academic. This one should also have an overall score of 65, but at least 65 in each communicative scale. You also have the TOEFL IBT, which requires you to have a total score of 94. So you complete the orientation. So when you are done with your English test results, you complete an orientation part 1 module online, and you then enter the outcome-based assessment pathway, which has 2 key exams that are to be written. One is the NCLEX RN exams, and the other one is the OSCE exams. So for the NCLEX exams, the good news is is you don't need to travel all the way to Australia for this one, because Pearson VUE test centers deliver the exams across the world. So you can check the website and search their center which is closer to your location. So I'll leave all the links below in the description. But for the OSCE exam, this one is only offered in Adelaide, that's in South Australia. For the OSCE exams, you will have to travel all the way to Australia to complete this. And after you pass both exams, you will take part in the clinical orientation program before you receiving your full registration. So to sum up, becoming a nurse in Australia is very possible, whether you choose the study route, the graduate pathway, or direct AHPRA registration. It takes effort, but the benefits from salary to lifestyle makes it worth it. So if you're serious about nursing in Australia, you need to start planning early, prepare for the English test, and keep an eye on the latest AHPRA updates. So that's it for today's video. If you found this helpful, drop a like, share with someone who is interested in nursing abroad, and subscribe for more valuable content and updates. I'll also leave all the helpful links in the description below so you can start your research right away. Macrao.